Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, I love that opening, especially, it's like, right, hilltop, you see the gunfire inside the building and all the locusts around, and then it's like, hard cut to 19 hours and one act of God ago. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. It is very poetic with everything kind of being set in motion the way it is. Hornsby has, made his decision. He's getting Leah he wants Maggie removed from the equation because she's kind of the last hindrance. If he can get rid of all the naysayers, it'll make his sweep and control of everything that much easier. It's about absorbing everything else and I guess expanding the Commonwealth's power, in turn expanding his own power, because his authority, everything that he has is being threatened, because if he screws this up, Pamela's going to take away everything that he has. And so it's like, he's the type of person, I fought tooth and nail to get to where I am. I started from the bottom, now I'm here. I'm not going back. And I'm the type of person who will do whatever it takes. If I have to get bloody, if I get nasty with it, I will do whatever it takes to make it happen. So he has to make it seem like, to at least to Pamela, that this is all a success. That's why I'm still kind of confused. Like, I don't know whether that's him buying himself time. If I'm able to do all this, if I can bring these communities under our banner, at the very least, it gives me time to so that I can fully finish what I'm doing, prep, so that I can take over the Commonwealth. That's still my thought, is that that's what he's planning on doing. He's going to remove Pamela and use Sebastian as a figurehead. That was my thought last episode. Still don't know if that's going to necessarily end up being the case or not. We'll ultimately have to wait and see, but obviously, Leah has her own personal vendetta, so she's actually the perfect person. And even she smirks and smiles when she sees the locusts, because obviously her and Pope, like, that entire group was all about, like, believing they were chosen by God. So a sign of locusts, she couldn't help but smile, because it's like, oh, like, this is a divine sign from God. Hell, even Negan was like, oh, it must be a sign from the big man above or something. Because Maggie came to him and asked him to look after Herschel. And he's like, right, the kid doesn't like me. The kid doesn't trust me. And she's like, yes, he might not, but I'm starting to. So she's like, despite what's going on between us, the fact is, I haven't forgotten, nor will I ever forget, that you protected my son. Basically saying, you and me, we're finally in a place where we're good. So, and even Negan's like, despite all this, I will help you fight this. But she's like, no, I need to finish this. I started things with Hornsby. It's up to me. You need to protect these people. You guys stay hidden. She didn't want Anne involved. Anne's pregnant. And it's like, I don't want to, obviously, I think there's also a little bit of an element of what happened to Maggie, losing Glenn and raising Herschel without Glenn in her life. She wouldn't want to do what was done to her, to Negan, especially now that she finally sees Negan for the person that he has become. That, right, you have changed, so I can't look at you as the same person. You've shown that. Given the opportunity, you protected my son. So, yeah, we have our beef, but going forward, that's definitely going to change. I'm still entrusting you with my son's life. Even if he doesn't trust you, I'm starting to. So, at the same time, that's all going down. Daryl, Aaron, and Gabriel are like, yeah, they're trying to find an opportunity to get away with the group that they're with, but turns out they can't. Hornsby's got eyes on them, keeps checking in on them. So they were just waiting for that moment. It's like, right, we got one more area to go, and then we're going to go home. And then, like, Daryl, Gabriel, and Aaron, like, saw the setup. It's like, right, we're, like, here, dead center. Everyone else is surrounding us. Everyone's giving these looks. It's like, right, they underestimate these guys. It's like, and I think Hornsby should have, I guess, once again, Hornsby's test last episode, I don't know whether it was him really trying to get a gist of their skills, so whether it'd be easier to take them down. I don't know why. I guess he thought, like, right, trying to get an estimate of their abilities, like, right, if we have enough numbers, we can take them down. Even with the numbers, you still got blasted, because you're underestimating the people. These are people who haven't had the benefits of the Commonwealth. They've had to fight for their own. They've been through so many wars, through so many struggles, and this group has come out on top. These people are survivors. So it's like, yeah, you really think you're going to top them? Wiped your whole team. So they're going to track down Maggie after they find out that Hornsby's after her. And, They ended up at least getting, what, 3 of Hornsby's men when Leah came in, but Leah, like, used them as sacrificial pawns. I thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, you guys, I mean, I was like, isn't it kind of stupid for you guys not to be armored up? But I guess that's the point. If armored, because as long as they're not armored, as long as they're using the guns that were already stolen, which I don't know if Pamela even knows about those guns probably being stolen, that's probably not the case. Which still kind of goes back to my point. Was he always looking for Leah the entire time? Is what, like, he probably knew from the very beginning that Leah had the guns, and maybe he thought Leah was at that place. Like that line last episode of like, oh, I've been looking for you. Whether it's just because he was always looking for the person who had the guns that he just assumed, because maybe Leah led the trail back there to make it seem like everyone in that apartment building was responsible for the missing weapons, or it's hard to say what Lance knew and when he knew what. But he, once again, being the opportunist that he is, he would take advantage of any situation. So he had to have some idea about the beef between Leah and Daryl and them. He must have just, or maybe he just sat and talked to her like, right, I have a job for you. And it's like, oh, then talking to her with like, oh, you hate Maggie? You want her dead? Cool, it actually works out for me. It's a win-win situation for us. But regardless, my point was, I was bringing up earlier, it's like, I think by having them not in uniform, it's like, oh, like something terrible happened and there's plausible deniability on Hornsby's front. This way, stuff comes in, it's like, oh, it must have been some wild group that came in. Oh, well, that's just why you should have the Commonwealth come and help you. So, just in case bodies do drop for whatever reason, at the very least, they're not wearing uniforms, so it's a little easier to cover up. But Leah led them into a trap knowing, like, oh, because she is a military person, she has tactical skills, so she's like, oh, I'm just going to use them just to activate any traps. Poor, Marco, Elijah's buddy, kind of got the moment I was like, oh boy, because we did see the body at the beginning, but it was from the back. So yeah, there's some headshots this episode, but we'll get to that in a second. So it comes down to it. Now Maggie's being haunted on 2 fronts. Her choice and her war with Hornsby led to this whole... Eventually, Leah would have came for Maggie regardless. She was arming herself up to the teeth so she could eventually take her out. But it turns out like she was so driven by her own revenge. It's like, no, I'm going to handle things my way. And at the same time, Daryl is finding out that Leah's the one responsible for all this. So when the time comes, Leah doesn't immediately kill Maggie. In fact, she captures Maggie, and it's like, right, I get it. If you wanted to kill me, you would have killed me already. But you want me to suffer. You want me to be in much pain as you were in. But it's not going to fill that void. You think it's going to take away from the pain you've suffered, but it won't. And Maggie knows from personal experience. It's like, right, you hurt the people I cared about, so I came and hurt you, and now you... It's the sad thing of like... I mean, to be fair, in my personal opinion, I think you're even, but I guess in Leah's mind, it's like, no, Pope is dead, our group wasn't the way it was anymore. Still, you kill Pope, and everyone dies still thinking Daryl's the one that did it, when in actuality, she was the one that did it. But my entire family, I could have left with the survivors, but Maggie, no, she made a choice, and that's also Maggie's point. Because Leah's like, right, it's going to be divine retribution, like everything's going to work out. But Maggie was like, no, we both know that's not it. You're making a choice. Like I made a choice to kill your people. You're making a choice right now. So don't pretend like this is some God thing. This is you and me. This is us. We're the ones that set everything in motion. We're the ones that are here right now. So, but Leah's like, yeah, when I'm done, everyone you care about is going to die. And I'm curious, would that include Daryl too, given the opportunity? Would she have killed Daryl if the time came? So they do their thing back and forth. And I'm like, oh, it's not looking good. And I was like, Daryl's probably going to show up in time, save her something. Which he did, but he popped Leah, I think, in the back of the head. And I was like, yeah. That surprised me because I was thinking like, okay, they're going to have their final confrontation and then Daryl's going to choose Maggie over you because he's going to choose his family. The fact is he did it, no, like, Leah, stop. Like, there could have been a conversation or something, but they were like, nah, I think that's so impactful. The fact is that it played out like that because I think for Daryl, everything that's been said has been said. I gave you multiple chances to walk away from this. Yes, what happened to you was terrible. You still had your life. I let you walk away. Told you not to come back. You decided to come back. You're trying to kill Maggie. And now he knows you are not going to stop. If I don't stop you now, you will continue to come after everyone. Because it won't just be people that Maggie cares about. It's obviously going to be people he cares about because they care about the same people. We're family. So him shooting her, like her not even... And it's almost... I can't express like how I'm feeling about that because I'm like, wow, that legitimately took me by surprise. There was no words exchanged. She doesn't even know Daryl's the like the thing of like, it's not even a thing of like, oh my God, he shot me. Oh, I'm in pain. And now I'm laying on the floor and he's just like, and then he has to put her down because maybe she bleeds out and dies, or maybe he's just kind of, she's like, if you don't put me down, I'm just going to keep coming. Like, once again, you think this be that moment of all of them talking. It's like, no, we've said everything we've had to say. I've said all I need to say. You're a threat now to my family and the people I care about. Put you down. Maybe that didn't mean as much to other people, but I know I'm harping on it so much, but it just, I wouldn't have expected that storytelling-wise to do that. And I think the fact is they made that happen like that, it's very impactful. Because I think it also shows, like, Daryl's position on things. It's like, right, Leah's not the same woman I fell in love with. That woman died a long time ago. She made her choices. She had multiple opportunities to walk away. I begged her and asked her to walk away. I know what Maggie did, but it's like, right, what you and your people did to her first and foremost. So I can't blame her. I can't be so mad at her for what she did, but I can stop you from doing any more damage that you're going to do. So it's interesting to see it all kind of end like that. It's actually kind of really sad for it to end like that, but it's also, I figured even though it didn't go down the way I thought it would, I knew it would most likely. It was either going to be Maggie or Daryl, but I feel like it needed to be Daryl. Daryl had to be the one to put an end to it because of everything. It's only right that he be the one to put an end to it. So, which is kind of sad to see how their story came not full circle, but just like how it comes to an end and the tragedy of it all, you know? The circumstances of being torn between the two families that they had, and eventually an ultimatum, a choice was going to have to be made. It was made back then, and what did he do? He chose his family. Everything he did with Leah, he was trying to do both. He was trying to protect Leah while also protecting his family. He couldn't do that either, so once again, he made a choice and chose his family. So, I don't know, just thought that was kind of like, maybe full circle would be the right appropriate word, that everything is like reciprocal in this particular instance, but I even love that he got a shot off at Hornsby, and Hornsby's got a scar across his face, which he's definitely got Two-Face vibes this episode. I didn't even think about it when he was flipping the coin. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know why that didn't immediately come to my mind, but then later on with the scar on his face, I'm like, you're definitely, there's gotta be some weekend nods to some Two-Face action there. Which, you'd almost be like, the way he plays Hornsby, I'm like, you would make a good Two-Face. You know, just obviously like, you know, just something to kind of think about if they ever do something like, you know, if they decide to do a Two-Face situation live action, whether it's, I mean, I say live action like they haven't done one, like they haven't done multiple Two-Faces live action, Aaron Eckhart or Tommy Lee Jones, but whether it be like for the Batman or even potentially Batwoman, I think he could do a really good job, because he a lot of that character. Now I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, you would actually I think you'd make a really good Harvey Dent. This character definitely has like Harvey Dent Two-Face vibes. So that was just something I immediately couldn't help but think of. But yeah, he was super pissed because it's like, because it's almost that thing of like, oh my God, my gorgeous face, you bastards. Oh, I hate you guys so much. So everything kind of fell apart. Leah didn't pan out the way you were hoping for, because that was almost like, was it even worth it in the end? Because you lost so many people in the process. I mean, you kind of got your guns back, so I guess it's kind of a net zero. I guess it all comes back even out. Well, you're still in a negative because of the amount of people you lost in the process, but still. So things have worked out on that front. At the same time, there's everything at not Hilltop, but the Commonwealth, where Max is, you know, everything between her and Eugene, which was really sweet. Because we still don't know. Obviously, there was a whole thing with Princess and Mercer last episode, but we don't know at the end. Obviously, Mercer's going to end up being on their side, but it is still that thing, and I think it's a really important thing that Max pointed out in this episode, that it's like, right, exposing all of this is fine and dandy, but the problem is, after the fact, there are so many people here who like the way things are, and this place is very stubborn about change. It's going to stay the way it is, because most people are going to be on that side. There are obviously outliers, like Yumiko's brother helping out last episode with Ezekiel and everything. So not everyone in the Commonwealth feels that way. Obviously, Mercer's got his complications about things. Max does now too. And I think it's interesting because I think Max tried to gauge a little bit of where Pamela stands, because she's like, oh yeah, like with the donations, well, whatever, like donation things or whatever it was, it's like, oh, we've got extra 50,000, maybe we could put that towards a less fortunate family. And what was Pamela's response? You know, it's the biggest event of the year, so the money's got to go back into the event. And I think for Max, it was almost like, right, I was trying to find any redeeming quality, saying that you're not the selfish person. Like, you could be doing good with that money. You could be helping someone that's less fortunate, but what are you doing? The rich are still saying, like the rich and hierarchy people, including Pamela, what are you doing? You just keep feeding the system that benefits you. It's like, right, it's almost, you know, speaking of Two-Face and everything, it is very Gotham-esque where the rich are very rich and the poor, like the disparages, the distance between poor and rich is so vast. That's kind of like a big economical and issue in Gotham, and obviously it's reflected here in I say reflected like these are in the same universe, but like I think you could draw the same parallel to the Commonwealth in this regard. Of, well, for one, the corruption is just up the wazoo, screaming Gotham. But that disparagement between rich and poor too, and those who kind of have everything, those who are kind of struggling to get by, and just like the way the system works, those who are in power can do whatever they want. Especially like Sebastian, he was able to do whatever he wanted for so long, trying to get the money, and how many people had to die and be sacrificed in the process, because that's who they are. So who he is, and the fact is he caught Max, I'm like, yeah, that's going to come back to bite her. Like he was real creepy the way he's all drunk and like, and Lisa's like, oh, my mom, why won't she see me? He's got this need to he's a spoiled brat because we know his mom because obviously we know about, wasn't she like a senator or something like that before? She was into politics beforehand, so that's why being like the mayor of Commonwealth isn't too out of left field for her. She was already in this political world, so maybe her son already like enjoyed the glam and power and position, and now that the world is ended, they have even more power than before over so many people's lives, and that is fully going to his head. And so maybe it's just a thing of I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought of where I was kind of going with that. I think my point was going to be like, right, maybe he's always kind of been this crappy kid, and maybe the end of the world just like, you know, it's kind of like, right, who you are at your core just probably comes out even more so under these circumstances. So maybe he was just rotten to the core before the fall, and at post-fall, he's just worse. But I get the feeling like he's going to find out, because he knows Max was looking through stuff, and he probably got a glimpse at what she was looking at, and it ties back into him and some of the shady stuff that he's up to. So when everything comes out at the end, which it's just reports about like, oh, Pamela's lying to you, just because exposing all the stuff Sebastian has been up to, because they ended up looking through the list, and there's some names that are up there, including what was her name, April, I believe, the woman from the heist. That Rosita and Daryl were trying to help. Her name was on the list, but they counted like 200 people. There's some coded some coded stuff with them. It's like, right, are these like coordinates, or like what's this about? These people, we have no idea what that's all about, and they won't be able to fully expose it until they're able to find a cipher to kind of break that code to understand what this list is fully about. They need concrete evidence to kind of go against Pamela, but at the very least, by exposing Sebastian, they'll make at least people listen and be like, oh man, Pamela isn't the person that we thought she was, with all the shady stuff going on underneath her nose. Like, how much does she know? How much doesn't she know? She should know what her son's up to. She kind of knows some of the stuff he does, but she cuts him off, you know. It's very much a politician, like, right, doing whatever it takes to protect their child. I mean, to be fair, any parent would, but if you have the power and prestige and position to do so, you go even more so above and beyond than maybe even a regular parent would. Regardless. But everyone's on board, including Ezekiel, which he's got people helping him as well, so they were going to spread the news around. So we see Pamela drop it on Max's desk. Now, whether she knows Max is involved, probably not yet, but I believe Sebastian's definitely going to have his suspicions. So all this is happening. There are basically two front wars with the Commonwealth on two different fronts. from the inside and from the outside. Because luckily everyone walked away okay. But the problem is now the Commonwealth, in particular Hornsby, has taken 3 communities. Well, I don't think there was no one left in Hilltop anyway, but it's like, right, this community is ours. Like, there's no one there, but I guess the perception of, oh, we have this community, we're going to keep it up like, oh, there's still people living here and everything's honky-dory, at least from an outside perspective, I think. I'm not sure about Alexandria. Like, doesn't that mean, like, everyone from Alexandria is being held hostage, or... Because Aaron and them didn't have a chance to really pull anyone out from who was still at Alexandria. So I think that's still a concern. Because not all of them went to the Commonwealth. Some of them did, but not everyone. So I think they're still kind of being held hostage. We see, like, Oceanside. I mean, because, like, I think the Hilltop was already cleared out because there wasn't that many people living there anyway. And they probably went to hide with... or at least kept everyone away from Hilltop was kind of the whole point. So if they weren't hiding with everyone from that apartment and Negan, they were probably somewhere else. But I'm assuming what happened to Oceanside probably happened to Alexandria too. We don't know. We just see them put the banner outside of Alexandria and closing the gate. But we definitely see them lining everyone up from Oceanside. Because for Lance, it's like, yeah, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Which, like, oh, this is you being Mr. Nice Guy. I guess everyone in this series is severely fucked when you go full dark side if this is supposed to be Mr. Nice Guy, you know? So he's like, yeah, no, because no more pretenses. I'm a take everything. You guys have screwed me up one too many times. You've cost me a lot. Fuck it. Gloves are off. I'm going to handle this. Now, I don't know whether the flipping of the coin was him being like, cool, so I'm going to decide whether or not these people get to live or not. Would it benefit him to kill them? The less people that are, like, in the know about what he's up to, the less word gets back to Pamela. So I think she still could be the key to taking Hornsby down, but I don't think she's going to survive the series, the ending. I think she's going to get got, whether it's by Hornsby, someone else. I'm just not quite sure how this whole Commonwealth thing is, what the end goal is, at least from... I keep theorizing, but I still don't fully know what Hornsby has planned. But the tides are turning, and we are entering the end game. This is the second... Well, this is, I guess... No, it's still the second mid-season finale. Like I was about to say, would this be a little closer to an actual mid-season finale to some extent? But either way, part 2 of 3 is done now. When the show returns in the fall, we will be entering the final 8 episodes of the series, which is kind of wild, and it's definitely going to be interesting. The everything's kind of already been set up. It's just going to be the extreme fallout to all of this and how it plays out. Who will make it? The Walking Dead is a depressing show where, like, there's no guarantee. There's some ideas just because of other stuff that's come out, like, oh, this person might survive and this person, but there's still characters you're like, I don't know if you'll make it. I hope so. I hope it's like, with the nature of what this show is, very much like World Beyond had some depressing aspects to it. At the very least, it ends on a more hopeful note, and I'm curious, will there be any tie-ins there when the Walking Dead returns? Like, because there's other aspects too that still haven't really been, because like there's the whole movie angle of things of like, right, that's where that, are they going to incorporate anything from that? Because like, I'm still not sure where the movies stand. Like, there's already all these spin-offs, but like, are they still... I'm sure they're still working on the movies and stuff. I just don't know where that stands, like, currently, and how much of that they're just going to say, screw it, and fold it into the final episode's continuity. I don't know. It's just going to definitely be interesting to see what the landscape is as we go into the final episodes. Once again, it's coming back in fall. I'd assume October, just that's typically where most... because I don't know when the other spin-offs are going to start up and stuff like that, so will they be filling in that gap in between? Because I'm assuming Fear is going to be... This season's going to be wrapped up by the time, like, summer rolls around. It should be... probably... Yeah, roughly around summertime is when Fear should be wrapping up, around June-ish, I would assume. So fall could be September, October. I'd assume they drop in October. That's roughly around the time fall stuff starts, but it could be a little sooner. So, but I'm excited to see what happens when the final episodes of The Walking Dead start airing in fall. So, But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.